Are you finding it hard to create a budget? Has your financial life been a mess, all because you don't know how to best manage your finances? You've even incurred so much debt, and it looks as if you may never get out. A new year is here. You won't want to live from paycheck to paycheck again. To avoid this, you need to fix the missing link, and that's knowing how to create and follow a budgeting rule. Of all budgeting rules, the 50-30-20 rule has been known to yield tremendous results. To you, it may look unrealistic and difficult to follow. That's just the voice of your emotions trying to dissuade you. In this video, I'll share with you an uncommon trick that can help you follow this rule and eliminate your financial stress. With this trick, you'll save more, spend diligently, and eliminate your debts faster. So, endeavor to stay tuned to the end. Hello and welcome to Alpha Finance. This is the channel to watch if you want to learn more about personal finance, investing, and cryptocurrency. However, before I get into today's topic, do me a favor. Subscribe and hit that like button because it really helps us out with that YouTube algorithm. Thanks. Now let's get into it. So what does the word budget mean? A budget can simply be defined as the total of all your expenditures for a period. It's a calculation plan that gives a vivid insight into your income, expenses, and everything related to your finances. A budget helps you keep close track of how you spend your money. Every individual, company, and nation has a budget. A financial journey without a budget is bound to hit the rocks. And for an individual, without a budget, achieving financial success remains a mere wish. Having gained an understanding of what budget means, what is the budgeting rule? The budgeting rule is simply the method you choose to draft your budget. Of course, to create a budget, you can easily pick up your pen and paper and draft some calculations. But there's more to it if you hope to get the right results. You must adopt the right strategy and a guiding rule. There are many budgeting rules. Some of these are zero-based budgeting rule, pay-yourself budgeting rule, and the 80-20 rule. But of all the rules, the 50-30-20 rule is the most realistic. A prominent figure that popularized this rule is the American senator named Elizabeth Warren. So what makes this rule effective? This is because it takes into consideration the essential parts of your life. The rule considers your need, your want, savings, debt, and financial goals. If you happen to be in debt, this rule can also help you get out of it fast. So, how do you start following this rule to eliminate budgeting stress? How to follow the 50-30-20 rule. Number 1. Consider your income. Your income is the total amount of money that you earn. If you're a salary earner, your income is the total amount you receive each month after tax deductions. If you have passive or multiple sources of income in addition to your salary, then your income is the total of all you earn from those endeavors. Before you can create your budget, all of these must be carefully considered. This is because your expenditure must not exceed your income. If that happens, you'll have a deficit budget which you can avoid by reducing your expenses, or else you'll incur more debt. Number 2. Note down your needs. Your needs comprise your most important expenses every month. They're what you must pay for because they're necessary for survival. There are many needs peculiar to every individual. Some of these are rent or mortgage payments, utilities, and groceries. Debt payment, healthcare, and insurance also feature here. The list is endless. What you need to do is identify those expenses that you can't do without. According to the budgeting rule, 50% of your earnings should be able to cover all your needs. That is, half of your after-tax income should be enough to cover all your needs and obligations for a month. You may have a hard time identifying your needs. That's quite simple. All you need to do is write out all the expenses you can do without and the expenses that are cogent. That's the exact way to separate your needs from your wants. The question people ask at this point is, what if my needs exceed the 50% allocated for it? That's not a hard nut to crack as well. That's why you're budgeting. Since it's a need, then you'll have to downplay the percentage allocated to your want or live below your means. Here's an example to illustrate my point. Take for instance, Richard's basic after-tax income is $5,000. Since he chooses to adopt the 50-30-20 rule, 50% of his income must cover his need. That's $2,500 from his earnings. This covers his transportation fee, feeding, and more. As the month progresses, Richard discovers that he spends more on eating, so he decides to allocate more to feeding. This decision made him reduce the amount allocated to the new clothing he planned to purchase. This helped him to scale through the month without touching his credit cards. Number 3. Identify your wants. We have defined needs as the essential expenses or payments that must be attended to each month. However, you are not expected to live your life without some fun. Once in a while, you may love to have some luxuries. That's where your wants come in. What are your wants? It entails those expenses that are not compulsory. Because they're not needed for survival, you can always do without them. However, you must give credence to them in your budget, as they can sometimes be your source of happiness. Under the wants category, you may have your hobbies, sports center subscription, vacations, and hanging out with friends. It may also include tickets to sporting events, buying the latest electronic gadgets, or a new handbag. Whatever it is, the easiest way to identify yours is to note what can be jettisoned from your budget. You can always find an alternative for them. For instance, you can decide to eat at home instead of eating out, buy the film and watch it at home instead of going to the cinema, or work out at home instead of going to the gym. Now, your wants, irrespective of their numbers, should only take 30% of your income according to the budgeting rule. What does this imply? It means that your wants must not exceed your needs for no reason. If this happens, that shows you've fallen into compulsive spending. That's why you have to have the budget. It's to guide you against honoring your wants over your needs. Also, if your wants exceed your needs, you'll eventually land in debt because you'll still need to pay for the essentials while you've spent all your money on frivolities. Another mistake here is to spend any extra cash on wants, thereby exceeding the 30% allocated. That is not a good idea. Instead, all extra funds should be diverted into the last part of the budgeting rule that I'll share with you soon. Now, if you stick with the 30% allocated to the wants section, you can always maintain a financially stable life. Now let's see how this works. Richard is determined to stick to the budgeting rule. He's used 50% of his earnings to attend to his needs, and now he deducts 30% of his earnings to care for a few wants. That's $1,500. He intends to buy a new gadget at $900, new clothing at $350, and $200 for eating out. In the course of the month, Richard discovers he spends more eating out. With the budgeting rule in place, Richard has two options: either forego the new clothing and continue eating out, or reduce eating out by making homemade meals and as well get the new clothes. Remember that the goal is to stay within budget and strategically find possible alternatives to each want, not spending unnecessarily. Number 4. Have a savings plan. Now that you've identified your needs and wants, it's time to start saving some money. According to the budgeting rule, you must save 20% of your earnings. You can save for diverse reasons. You can save for a new car or towards college fees. It could also be towards your retirement plan or investments. No matter the goal, it's essential to save. Following the budgeting rule, you must save 20% of your income. All extra cash should also go into your savings. You must avoid a spending spree when you receive an increment at work. If you can diligently save the money every month, you'll achieve more and struggle less when you retire. Richard has been our example since the beginning of this video. Now let's see how this active saving impacted his life. He's allocated more than 50% to his needs, 30% to his wants, and now 20% to his savings. The amount he saves every month is only $1,000. In a year, he saved $12,000. He added all the extra cash that he'd received. That gave him a total amount of $14,800. Because Richard followed the budgeting rule, he can now rent a studio for his artworks and have it furnished to his tastes. However, note that if you have a debt to pay, it's advisable to pay off your debt before you start saving. Only the minimum repayment amount goes into your need column. You can as well pay above the minimum. Once your debt is all paid off, you can channel your energy into savings. The rules are practicable with sheer discipline and consistency. You don't have to perform any statistics or crack your brain over puzzling equations. It's all on simple percentages. You only need to scrutinize your expenses, separate your needs from wants, ensure you're not spending more on your desires and necessities, and then start saving more money. Following these steps will grant you financial independence. Now that'll be all for today's video. What do you think of the budgeting rule? Does it truly reduce budgeting stress? Can you confidently incorporate this rule into your financial situation? Do you think that you can replicate the example used in this video? Or do you think the budgeting rule is a waste of time? Please share with me your views in the comment section below. I would love to read and reply to them all. And as always, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more informational videos and don't forget to like and subscribe. And with that, we'll see you next time.